Okay. So we'll continue our talk. Last time we started our discussion on how to deal with the anxiety. Anxiety is one of the common problem in the society. If you really think about it, we don't have more than 10 or 12 diseases. Man is a disease. God is a cure. But we don't know the cure, and that's why we need to meditate. But if you really look at it, whether you go any part of the world, whether you are here or in the remote corners, the diseases remain the same. Either there is greed, either there is stress, either there is anxiety, either there is hatred. Nothing really changes. So in a way, we have a diverse society. We have a lot of races and religions, and people are different color and all that. But inner psyche remains the same. So wherever you go, people are really expressing the same symptoms, basically. So anxiety, of course, is one of them. The anxiety, as we talked last time, is basically looking at the future of certain results that we really want, and we are not sure whether that result will happen or will not happen. So our eyes through the mind are focusing onto the future, which hasn't happened, and future is something which is not under your control. So the problem that has happened is because we have a mind which is more developed than animals. Animals cannot look at the future because they cannot think of the future. They live in the moment. So in a way, they are more happier than the men, because our mind is too developed, and that's why we need to forget this kind of mind which creates the problems for us about the uncertainties of the future. And so sometimes we like to drown ourselves with the hypnotic substances and things like that, the pleasures of life and eating and whatever. So all those things basically kind of numbs the mind, which knows that certain things can happen which may be against what I want, and yet the life goes on and it keeps on creating the situations which we may like or may not like. This uncertainty is what throws us into the anxiety. So, but we talked about is that we are living in a four-dimensional world where we have height, width, depth, and time. So in the fourth dimension, we are basically living our whole life. We are born in four dimensions, and we're gonna live in four dimensions. We're gonna die in four dimensions. Our knowledge, which pertains to the mind is capable of the most it can handle is four dimensions. It's like if you are in a different universe altogether, and you are born in two dimensions. You cannot imagine how the people will be living if they have they have a width and a height. That's it. They don't have a depth. So how would they be living? It's a totally different world. And the question comes in, if you're not in that dimension, how do you think of that dimension? But man is progressing. We have developed to realize the three-dimensional structure, and then with the help of mind, we have created the past and the future. I'm not saying the past exists. It exists only because mind thinks about it. The same way, future doesn't exist unless mind projects the future, unless imagines the future. So past and the future both are imaginary, and yet we are able to get the grasp of a little bit of four dimension. So the problem is, because of the mind, we have a good handle on four dimension. But the problem is, so all our products of this four-dimensional life is also gonna be four-dimensional. Think about it. If you want to be happy, what do you need? Whatever product of this four dimension, whether it's money, four-dimensional, fame, four-dimensional. Four-dimensional means time works on it. It's not just three-dimensional. The dollar bill in your pocket is three-dimensional, has a very tiny depth, but height and the width. But you keep it there, a year later is minus 2% because the inflation ate it up. It keeps on changing. Everything has to respond to the time. So whatever products you develop are also four-dimensional, and you're not happy about it because four-dimensional, the fourth dimension, eats up the other three dimensions. You like your parents, but they grow old, they die. You like your son, but he's growing up And then he has children, then his children, and children are growing up. Oh, I loved my grandson when he was up until age of 5. Everybody says that. After 5, there'll be that, grandma, you don't have time. I don't have time for you. I have to do my homework. You don't know anything. You are old. And things like that. These interactions are always happening. But everything is in 4 dimension. Whatever you like will be taken away, eaten away by the 4 dimension. 4 dimensions are continuously changing. So they are finite. All the pleasures of the 4-dimensional world are going to be finite, no matter what. And yet we keep on running after it because that's all we know. And that's why the whole idea of the meditation has come up. By being a witness of the 4 dimension allows you to look beyond the 4 dimension, because 4 dimensions are the products of your mind. So if you look at it, all our negativities are the products of the mind. The most basic problem, the most basic mistake of the mind is to want more, lobe, greed. And why is it the basic? Because we are not happy with what we are. And so we want more. So whenever we want more, we make the efforts. We put our mind to work, we put our body to work, and then, of course, when we do all these things, we want the results. And when the results don't happen, we get upset. So anxiety is all about another derivative of lobe. So lobe is a basic, whenever you want something and you are so sure that you're gonna get what you want, somebody comes in the way because everybody wants the same thing. So you have a friction. Then hatred comes. Why did he come in the way? Then anger comes. Oh, I could have done if he did not butt in. Without his intervention, I would have been able to. So again, everything is a byproduct. When you love a girl, you want the girl. Again, the desire comes in, but then somebody else comes as a competition, and yet all of a sudden, whatever you thought you were gonna, now you have depression. So not able to get what you want is also depression. So want is a basic problem of the mind. And why is it? If you look at the teachings of Patanjali, Patanjali says there are 5 kleshas. Kleshas are the layers, are the causes of suffering. And the first klesha is, he describes as abhinivesh. Abhinivesh is a lust for life. You want life, life as we know, which is a 4-dimensional structure in front of you, including your body. So you are living in a 4-dimension and you think that this is my holy grail. This is where I'm gonna get something. So your desire is ultimately leading you into this 4-dimensional, what you call holy grail, is this is where ultimate product of something is gonna give me the satisfaction. And so the abhinivesh is our lust for life. Lust for life is our first mistake. And we don't know that because we don't know the 5th dimension. We don't know what is beyond the 4th dimension. So the only thing we know has to come, whether we want to drink Coke or alcohol, or we want love from our parents, whether we want love from our spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, money, even fame, recognition, everything has to pour in towards me. Me is the most important thing, is the ego. I want those things. So abhinivesh, being the lust for life, is our first mistake. And why do we want it? Because we like certain things. We like recognition, we like fame, we like to be recognized, we want money, we want fame, or whatever we want, ultimately is our like. Whatever we don't like, we run away. So our mind keeps on running. So our 2 other mistakes is rag and dvesh. Rag is desires, dvesh is dislikes. So we go opposite directions. So our continuous running in the sansar goes because out of all the things the sansar has to offer, we keep running towards the things we like and we keep running away from the things we don't like. So what does that ultimately boil down to? Your likes and your dislikes. And what does that mean? That's your ego. Ego means there are millions of people and there are millions of egos. Everybody has a different likes and everybody has a different dislikes. Even the two twins born at the same time, having even the same fingerprint maybe, they have pretty much the same genetic makeup, and yet their likes and dislikes will be totally different. Everyone, so that's our individuality. That is our ego. Ego is your identifications of your totality of the likes and dislikes. So we have four kleshas so far: lust for life, abhinivesh, rag, and dvesh, and then we're talking about the ego. And the inner to the ego, what is the cause of our ego is avidya. Avidya is lack of knowledge, knowledge of our true self. And that's where the meditation comes in. So up until this point, everybody understands. Everybody understands that yes, I want the sansar to make me happy. I have likes, I have dislikes, and I have ego. Yes, my likes are different. But beyond that, everybody stops. And that's where the Patanjali says, that's where we need to go. And that's the cause of our suffering. The ultimate cause of our suffering is avidya. So the path towards the vidya, the knowledge of the true self, is the meditation. And every great saints have described in a different way. Buddha described as paramita. Paramita is to go par, beyond, to go beyond. You standing on a river. Right now, we are in the river of sansar. Sansar is throwing us back and forth. Whatever I want, everybody wants. I have to compete. I have to succeed. As soon as I succeed, I'm happy. But the success doesn't last long because somebody beat me again. And then I feel inferior. Then I feel superior. These are the motions of the river waters. I'm totally in the middle of it. All of a sudden, something stirs within me, and I start becoming a witness of the whole dance of the sansar, whole suffering of the sansar, and I decide to stand on the river bank. And in the river bank, there is no motions. I'm just standing as a witness. And Buddha says, not just stand on the bank, but go beyond. Drop the whole sansar. The whole cause of our suffering is the sansar. And it's not the sansar, that's the physical sansar. The whole sansar is within us. We have locked the whole sansar. Whatever we deal with, whatever we like, where is it? It's not outside. It's within us, within our mind. Our whole mind includes the whole sansar outside. A bird is flying outside. You loved that bird. You close your eyes. Where is the bird now? It's still within you. That kingfisher, the beautiful colors that you saw, the beautiful song that you heard, beautiful person that you saw, the amount of money in the bank that you have, all that is locked in your mind. We create every single structure that we liked. And at the same time, every single structure that we dislike or hate is also within us. People die with hatred that they acquired from the time of birth, that their father said, you make sure you take a revenge of this person or his family or his generations. People carry on their hatred for generation after another. So all these things are also locked in our mind. And then the mind wants to act based on likes and dislikes. So mind is always restless. So Buddha says that your mind is in the river. Your mind is part of that river. So learn how to witness and go beyond. That's what he describes, paramita. And Mahavir describes as pratikraman. We are going towards the sansar because we want things. It's our desire takes us there. And whenever our desire wants certain things, and whatever is in the front of us, we are not happy, so we apply the mind to it. Mind starts fantasizing. Mind creates a beautiful scenario that $1 million is in our pocket. Such and such girl is in our pocket. There is something called nirvana. Just because Buddha describes nirvana, now the people sitting in the temples, they want nirvana. They want to dress up like Buddha did. They want to put the shawl on the left shoulder just like Buddha did. They want to do the fastings in the Jain temples. They sit just because Mahavir did it. They are copying the same four-dimensional acts of their saints. Same mistake. religions are not teaching you anything different. Only dharma teaches you the right thing, because dharma is what takes you beyond the river of samsara. All 300 religions are also part of the same four-dimensional world. Where does that take you? Why do they say that they are different than the others? Because they want to exist. The same thing. So you have to learn all these mistakes of the mind. They can do whatever they want to do, but you need to have analytical mind. Little bit of wisdom. The Vivek Buddhi, they call. Vivek Buddhi is going to take you to the higher level. Vivek Buddhi is the ability to discriminate right from wrong. There was a question some girl asked me in our experiences only. He says, I have suffering, but isn't that the way to see the world, that people have more sufferings, and so that you feel better, that your suffering doesn't mean anything? Again, mind fools you. I said suffering is not the comparable thing. Being in the sansar is suffering. And sansar, that you are not in the sansar. Sansar is within you. And you have to learn, go beyond the sansar. Because sansar fools you. That okay, somebody has no eyes versus I have only one eye, I'm happy. How long does that last? Until you lose your leg or something else. So our ego always gives you a comfort, and we don't want to give up the ego. We don't want to go beyond the ego. Ego always feels good. Whenever, as soon as one leg of the spider is broken, the spider wishes that another leg grows. Then I'm like all the other spiders. They all have 6 legs, I have 6 legs. Until then, he feels that he is missing something. But he doesn't know that there is a thread of silk it can throw. He doesn't need the legs, he can fly. We all have that silk thread. So wisdom is the ability to discriminate right from wrong, is something we need to develop. Instead of going like a herd of sheep, going after another, days and days, we are wasting our precious time on the things which have no value at all. That way we are born in 4-dimensional, we're gonna live in 4-dimensional and die in 4-dimensional. We didn't achieve anything at all. This precious human life, we have to employ it in a very wise way. So Mahavir says, Pratikraman, you go, Atikraman is attack. So we are attacking onto the sansar with the hope of getting things. But that attack is going outside. For that you need the mind, you need the body. And obviously the mind and the body has to move. Sitting at one place, you're not going to get anything. So your body has to be active and your mind has to be active. In this activity, you have no rest. And the suffering invariably happens. When your motion is going in one direction, there are millions of others going in another direction, crossing your path right in front of you. How are you going to avoid it? It's a jungle out there. In the jungle, invariably suffering always happens. But one who sees this as a suffering also sees that the happiness that I have in sansar is also 4-dimensional. Otherwise, why would Mahavir and Buddha would have left their palaces? What suffering did they have? They had everything perfect. Anybody who could have asked for, they had much more than that. And yet they saw something. They saw the futility. They saw the finiteness. Buddha went on Nagarcharya. He went on the trip to a youth convention and he saw a dead body. And he asked his charioteer, what is this? Why is this person not moving? And up until that point, he didn't even know what the death was because he was brought up that way. So he sees this, and they say, the story goes that Devas, the charioteer wanted to lie because he was instructed to lie by the king that don't reveal anything negative to my son. But the story goes that Devas compelled him to speak the truth. That yet death does exist and it does get everybody. So as soon as Buddha heard that, what did he do? He says, turn the chariot back. If he died, I can die too. He extrapolated. Look at his wisdom. Look at his Vivek Buddhi. How long does it take for us to realize that there is finiteness everywhere? You see people dying, right and left, everywhere. That's why the training of Buddha, first 3 months, no, up to 1 year, he compelled his shishyas to spend in the graveyard. You see people dying day after day after day. Death is everywhere. And yet we call this life. Where is the life? There is death every day. But it does not have to be in a negativistic way. In a positivistic way is to learn from it. Anything that happens in your life, if you get depressed, you're getting sucked into it again. So, oh, there is only death. No, but if death is there, there has to be a life. There is a day, but there is a night too. One who gets depressed with night, he gets depressed, then he's lost. But when he realized that there is a light coming in the corner of the east, the sun is rising, day will be here soon. There is no single thing like depression or death or nothing like that. The universe is in a balance. So if the life that we call life and we understand as a death, there has to be a life there. Something that is finite, there has to be an infinite. Something that requires continuous motions and stress and anxiety, there has to be a balance. Look for that balance. So Mahavir said, do pratikraman, go within. And what do the Jainas do? They go and worship him. Four-dimensional activity. Everybody wants to copy the activities. It doesn't do anything. So one who sees the futility even in the sukh of the sansar, his journey has started. So I replied to that girl, you still not yet. She's new. She was shadowing me in my office, so she's 20-year-old. She got into it I thought I was burdening her, at the age of 20, who cares about all these things? And she has a lot of things to do. I don't have time to meditate, but she saw me practicing the way I practice, she got interested. So she said, okay, I want to be part of it. And I said, yeah, just meditate, and then only 3-4 times a week, at least 20 minutes, that's good enough. She said, I can do that. And now she has like explosion of questions all the time. One she posted, she has so many others I replied to her, But that's a beautiful mind. That's a very beautiful mind which asks questions.
Right age to get into
Right age to get into that. And the mind that does not ask the questions, that I question whether they are there or not. Because the mind that asks the questions is looking for the path. And when the path comes, ultimately questions stop because you got your perfect answers. You don't really get the answers, but the questioner disappears. Because who was asking the question? The ego was asking the questions. And yes, there is suffering. Where is the peace? There is stress. Where is the relief? The mind was asking the questions. So the ego was getting crystallized. Ego was getting wise, but it's still there. But when the ultimate state comes in, all the questions disappear. So when people don't ask me questions, I have doubt whether they are already in a nirvana state or they are just don't care. They're letting this also piece of information go from one ear to the other ear. So what I'm saying is, so pratikraman is the direction that they gave us, and we're supposed to go in that direction. And then once you go in that direction, there is another beautiful word Mahavir gave. It's called salinta. Because just the way, imagine somebody wants to have their goal fixed on a person or money or fame. Look how much enthusiasm they have. How much fervor they have to get what they want. You see the same thing in the eyes of the political leaders. Look at the political drama. People get insulted, people get thrown into the jails, and yet more and more people keep coming. Look at their enthusiasm, and look at the enthusiasm of us trying to do meditation. Oh, I don't have time. I don't get time. I don't know, what am I doing here? I don't know, where am I wasting my time? I could be doing something else. We don't have fervor. That mamukshatva we don't have. But if you look at the other ones, you see them. People who getting running after their goals, they wake up, they even in the middle of night, they're thinking about what they want. Next day, what they're gonna talk about, how many people are gonna attend their rallies, how I'm gonna find out the ways to trick this guy so that I have $10 extra in my pocket. How much energy these people have. So there was a story of a sadhu. He was in one of the town, and he really was working hard to reach to the final samadhi state, right? And he was not successful. He would pray to God and spend a lot of time, just things were not happening. His guru said, you will know when it clicks, you will know. But years passed. One time a thief came into the town, and he was really came in the middle of night. He came from another town. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and everybody was asleep, and he wanted a shelter. This is like the old times still. There are no motels or nothing like that. So he wanted to sleep over. The only light was on this sadhu because he was trying to meditate, utilizing all different things and all that. So he knocks on the door, and sadhu says, no problem, no question asked, just sleep, no problem. It was a good old times, you know. He says, before I come to your and stay with you, I just want to let you know that I am a thief. I wake up in the middle of night. He says, no problem. You do whatever you do is your doing. But, you know, no problem. You can do whatever. So every night, as soon as the night sun goes down, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, the thief wakes up and he gets ready. And then he starts his activity. Comes home, brings off whatever he got hold of, whatever the money and jewelries and all those things. And the sadhu is watching. He says it's all night, but without fail, he may be sleeping, going to the bars or whatever, but at 10 o'clock sharp, the guy wakes up. And then he does the whole thing, whatever and all that. So finally, he stayed there for about a month or 2 months, and he left. And he says, I really thank you for giving me the shelter. He says, no. You taught me a great lesson. He says, the fervor that you have for getting what you want, I don't have it. Now I realize that yes, my goal is elusive, but the fervor that you have shown for getting the sansaric things, I should have the same fervor. He says, he bows down to his feet. He touches his feet. He says, now my life has changed. And so ultimately, he was a Muslim monk actually. And I forgot his name. Osho mentioned it all the time. Because people asked him, who was your guru? So he lists the thief as one of his guru. And he says, I learned a lot from him. The same thing he has listed another child one time, because he used to talk about scriptures and words of the books all the time, quote Quran all the time, and this and that and all that. He tried to impress other people utilizing his knowledge. All of a sudden, one day, a kid was passing by, and he had a lamp in his hands. And he says, let me play a trick on this kid. Let me throw his mind off. He says, wait, where are you going? Well, I'm going to the temple carrying this light. He says, where did this light come from? When you must have lighted up. He says, yes, I lighted up the lamp. Where did that come from? Where was it before that? So the kid had no answers. He says, wait. He blew it out. He says, now if you think you're smart, you tell me, where did it go? So now he had no answers either. He says that there are things which are not answerable. So suddenly he realized that knowledge has no value until you actually experience it. All this scriptural knowledge you can read for all your life, you're still locked in the four-dimensional world. So the key thing about dealing with our negativities is not to deal with the negativities. So our topic is this, how to deal with negativities. You don't have to deal with the negativities. What you need to do is light up the lamp of positivity. And that was very awakening for a lot of people in our group. I said, we are wasting on our energy on these four dimensions. Because to deal with individual negativities, whether you deal with anger or anxiety or grief or desires and all those things, their negativities is just like darkness. When you want to remove the darkness from the room, what do? You light up the lamp. So same efforts that you have to deal with the anxiety, and a lot of people agreed that so far all I was doing that I was looking at my negativity and try to remove it. But who is trying to remove it? You are not there yet. So you are the body and you are the mind. The problems of the mind, if mind could solve it, then who needs God? So we need God's presence in our life. And God is not you and me as a separate thing. God is within us. The consciousness, the awareness is the universal awareness is God. And it's flowing within us and within everybody. The universal consciousness, the cosmic intelligence is everywhere. We have to pick within us. So once we meditate and you start going beyond the thoughts, you have to stick to that route. And you have to start realizing that there is something within you which is beyond the thoughts. Thoughts are nothing but sansar. And whenever you start realizing your consciousness separating itself, the drashta drashti, you develop the state of being a witness, which SSY teaches you. Being a witness of your thoughts is one of the most pioneering thing that you would have done in your life, not life, lives, because true dharma never came to you. This is a unique opportunity you have to understand being a witness is the most profound thing you can do to be able to witness the four-dimensional structure that is playing within your mind, and then it opens up the fifth dimension for you. It's all within us. And then the salinta starts coming. Salinta is opposite of talinta. How much talinta do you have towards accumulating money? Every single dollar, down to the cent, you make sure you have it. Same talinta, how you become talin in somebody's music. You attend the big concerts, how the movie or the concert that you attend or the girlfriend continuously playing in your head. These are talinta. You concentrating all available consciousness that you have onto one person or one thing, right? Opposite of that is beautiful word called salinta. You become talin with your soul, the self. The self-realization has to happen, and this salinta is what takes you beyond the 20 minutes of meditation. What is 20 minutes? Nothing. You have 24 hours in a day. You could be meditating 24/7 with that salinta, as long as you become aware of your soul. That's salinta. And with this, what happens is the inner consciousness starts becoming alive. Starts becoming alive to the point that this infinite, you cannot even call a fifth dimension. What is a dimension? Height is a dimension. Depth is a dimension. Width is a dimension. Even time is a dimension, but everything is finite. Something that is beyond the dimensions is a dimensional-less thing. It's infinity. But for convenience purpose, we have to call it a dimension. It's not a fifth dimension, it's beyond dimension. So the finite becomes infinite. And that starts becoming real. You actually start jumping into the self-realized state, where you actually start realizing that you are the consciousness. And this is the first step. And then the infinity is what you become. Then you face your negativities. Don't do anything to it. The anxiety, yes, it is there. But I am looking at it. The positive, dynamic acceptance. Nothing else. You realize the dance of your mind, how it is jumping into the future, how it is avoiding the present, how it does not like the present, how it wants the future, and how many obstructions it is facing, you see the dance, you see the suffering of the mind, and you compare it with the peace that you're having in a salinta state, in the state of awareness, where you are, nothing is moving. Because opposite of motion is immobility, the steadiness, the sthit prajna state. You be in that state, you become that. And when you become that, it's like death. This is Mahamrutyu. This is the biggest death you will ever have. Once you die, you don't need to be born again. Why? Because you have no desires left. Who in the world would give up the tranquility, the serenity of the realized state and keep on running? And then suffer with anxiety, suffer with anger, suffer with stress, suffer with desires. Why? For what? Because whatever you're doing, what is it going to earn you? Something that is four-dimensional, which you're going to give up anyway. If life doesn't take it away, the death will take away. You're going to give up anything. You see the futility. You're holding the pebbles. But when you get the diamond of self-realized state, the pebbles will drop automatically. You don't have to fight with anxiety. You see the cure is only one. The diseases are many, but cure is only one. Only one Raj Vaidya you need. All your diseases are taken care of. Somebody who has a superiority complex, say for example, and is thinking too much, let him meditate. See what happens. I'm talking about sincere meditation, right? After a few months, what is he going to realize? That he becomes a lot bigger. But lot bigger than whom? Lot bigger than his original thoughts about himself. And then he realizes this is available to all of us. So whatever I was feeling superiority to is also part of this universal consciousness. So we all are the same. What happens to superiority complex? Talk about the same thing, feelings inferiority complex. Same thing. One infinity fixes everybody. Everybody is the same. So the bottom line is the negativities, and not just the anxiety, the anger, the greed, and everything can be dealt with. Let God work for you. You are the disease. God is the cure. So ultimately, the dimensional-less existence is what you carry the joy, the bliss state with you all the time. And in that, there is nothing to gain. There is nothing to lose, because everything that you would gain is part of that infinity. And whatever you lose was never yours anyway. Isn't that what Gita says? You came with nothing, you're living with nothing. Where is the problem? There is nothing that you acquire was yours anyway. But that is only the book knowledge. Through meditation, it can be yours. Experiences is all that matters. So much for today.